the the thing about him is he is such a history buff, isn't he?
Huge. He
Yeah.
loves, and he knows so much about the world wars. He's actually a very, very erudite, intellectual individual.
Well, I always sort of found it like when you look at the top tier comedians such as himself, they are usually very well educated. Now I know he perceives himself as pub landlord, the drinking fool, but when he does go on his like historical rants, like was the one he did, the UK's beat every single country in a war. The history knowledge he's got is phenomenal.
It's incredible, and he's just playing a character. Like if you hang out with him, he's incredibly astute, very mild-mannered. It's the opposite of the pub landlord. He listens very intently to things you're saying. His knowledge of the other culture is extensive. It's just a very, very educated, clever, erudite man.
And it comes out as comedy. But I must say, I'm literally just supposed to record now, but I was talking to you a bit before. I've literally just finished your special, and dude, I say I have ADHD. I can't sit down for more than sort of like an hour. That's why I end up smoking so much doing these episodes. And I never laugh out loud by myself because I think I look like a weirdo. Dude, you had me cracking up. Like, it's such a well written special.
Thank you. Wherever I am, when I started out doing stuff in the UK, people said, "Oh, don't do history and, really obscure history about Britain and India at 1:30 in the morning at a comedy club." And I said, audiences will be up for it. Like if the person before you is talking about Tinder or, having sex, they'll switch. It doesn't
Mm.
matter. It could be 1:30 in the morning. You go in there, start talking about tea and the history of empire, they'll be up for it. Just don't have to talk about what everybody else is talking about. I've kind of
A
stuck
million
to that.
percent. It was so different from a lot of other material, like like just the standard, go to material comedians do. It was so off the cuff. I mean, can I mention some bits?
Sure.
I mean, the Indian government. He runs like Uber. Absolutely hilarious.
Well, I made that up. Somebody many years ago, I was in the US and someone asked me if what the Indian system of government was. And they didn't mean it in ignorant way or a silly way. They said,
Yeah.
"Well, what's your system of government? Do you have a democracy or is it a kingdom?" And I just thought I would just be cheeky. And I thought I'd take the piss a little bit. And I just made that up. I said the whole country is run by Uber. Um, Basically, I like the world to know a lot about each other. And what I like about Britain is audiences here are very well informed.
Mm.
You could joke about any part of the world. People have become quite careful about making jokes about other parts of the world. And it's almost become like, do I have the right to make a joke about another part of the world? And I think in the old days, people absolutely did.
Yeah.
I mean, I find increasingly comedians going inward. Whereas I love comedy that goes outwards, that I think you could break barriers between cultures if we're laughing at each other.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, is there a notable difference between sort of like the UK audience and the American audience, not just in comedy, but sort of like in general with sort of like the education system?
yeah, I think people here are just better read. I think people here are better informed. I think
So I'm now
they
thinking of your library book joke. They gave us all the books in was it 1890, and they haven't updated us since.
Yeah, yeah, I did that last night actually. I was playing a festival in Watford. And I talked about how all these cancelled books were books that we read in school. And
Best way of travel, oceanic. Oh, I'm not sure that's right anymore.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh.
yeah. So that kind of stuff. And people are always interested if you've got a story to tell from another part of the world. I think people are always up for it, especially here. Can you tell it well? Is it funny? That's the hard part.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, can you do the topic justice?
Yes, yes. And does it not? It shouldn't become a TED talk. That's the main thing.
I do think that's what a lot of early comedians do struggle with. They would end up coming across more preachy.
Yeah.
topics, or
Yeah.
doing the wrong angle. But you've sort of got the skill. And one thing I do sort of love about your comedy it is very universal.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. As in, you know, a lot of, I think, a generation of India education and how we speak and what we're interested in was shaped by the UK. And it was shaped by a British system of education. And plus, I think the biggest thing I love about British comedy is the celebration of failure. I
Oh, yeah.
like
The
failing.
bombing.
I like continually failing. And I like characters that fail. And I hate characters that win because there's no comedy in it, which is the main difference, I think, between American comedy. Because um, every time I see American comedians, except for maybe a handful, a lot of it is, I'm better than you. I'm going to tell you things. I'm going to be cleverer than you. I'm at a higher pedestal.
Mm.
Um, and I despise that. I love the comedy where the character is unaware of how badly he's drowning.
I,
Uh,
yeah, I do completely agree. There is sort of we're all in sort of like the sinking ship together. I mean, I love it. Like I had Lenny on yesterday, Lenny Shearman, and he said like one of the best bits he did was when he acknowledged to the crowd, and it's only happened like a couple of weeks ago. Now he's been going 15 years. A couple of weeks ago, he was like, "Oh, I just fucked that joke up, haven't I?" And it was sort of like then they brought the whole room together in a live moment of like we're all human, we all mess up, and like that got the ominous applause.
those are the best bits. Those are always the best bits when you acknowledge something's gone wrong. I did something like that yesterday where I said, well, I think I said something like, well, I said that completely incorrectly, didn't I? That wasn't even, or something like people love vulnerability. I mean, and I think British audiences are very, very open to vulnerability, which very few audiences in the world are. Like there are no mistakes, which is what I like.
Mm. I mean, one thing I sort of have noticed, like being a student of comedy and interviewing so many comedians now, is that one thing I do like about the UK comedy scene, we don't mention drugs that much.
Yeah,
Now I know
yeah,
Australia's always like, oh, I was just smoking a joint before. America seems to be like leading the march on talking about cocaine before going on set.
yeah. All sorts of substances, like or encouraging the crowd to smoke a blunt, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like and people applauded that. I don't know. I mean, it's just a different culture.
but do we have a drink culture? I guess.
But you very rarely see a comedian go up and be like, you should get smashed every night
Yeah.
and this big applause, like, because there's no joke there.
Mm.
I've worked with American comedians who've been like, I just smoked a doobie before coming on here, and then there's huge applause. I mean, what are you really celebrating? I have no idea what they're celebrating,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
I've never understood that. And it's something I've sort of like I've noticed. I was speaking to Gordon Southern about it. Oh, actually, I've got one. I was speaking to him about this also. The most expated thing from our country to India, comedy wise, is Mr. Bean.
yes,
Is that
yes.
there's no second place? That is 100% unequivocally the answer, Mr. Bean.
When I was growing up, it was Faulty Towers, but I think it's
Okay,
probably Mr. Bean now. Yeah.
'cause I got told it's because universally like there's no speaking. It's just
It's
pure
just
comedy.
relatable, and for a lot of people, Indians who probably don't speak English, that's perfect, right? You got a guy trying to put a fan off with a gun. Funny.
So I'm going back to your special again, dude. You had so many like nuggets in that. Like, oh, I didn't know Indians spoke English. Like, it's just
Again, it's always good to come into a culture from a point of, again, lower status. Like,
yeah,
I mean, most English people know that Indians speak perfectly good English, but
yeah,
it's just a nice low status to come in from.
yeah.
Uh,
It was absolutely brilliant. I mean, yeah, I'm trying not to I suck you off too much, but it was a great special. It was a
Thank you.
great, but like you should, yeah, be proud of that one. So
Thank
I'll
you.
go all the way back to the beginning. How, why, when, and where did we even start comedy in the first place?
Do you know, I think it had to be a holiday many, many years ago. This wasn't even starting comedy. This was a school friend of mine popped in a video cassette and it was Edisode
Okay.
and now Susie. And I remember seeing her and thinking, I didn't know this was possible. I didn't know you could talk about world history
Hmm.
on stage like that, with that kind of ease and set up scenes and then enact them. And I just didn't know that was a thing with stand up. And I thought, oh, I want to do this. This seems fascinating.
Hmm.
And it actually came about because I was writing comedies. Basically, I was me and a friend of mine who ended up being a director. We were very inspired by Spinal Tap,
Okay, cool. Yeah.
uh, and we ended up writing a couple of mockumentaries, which became really popular in India.
Spinal
Uh,
Tap. That was Swedish.
Spinal Tap was about no, it's an English film.
Oh, sorry. I'm thinking of the band Spinal Tap.
Yeah, yeah.
It is. Yeah. Okay.
So it's a made up band, right? It's a mock documentary. They've
Hmm.
just released the sequel. It's one of the funniest films ever made. It's about a failing rock band and a documentary about it. And we ended up doing two mock documentaries set in India. Um, and that was essentially what I was writing. I was writing small comedies. And the Comedy Store of London opened a comedy store in Mumbai,
Cool.
and the guys just wanted to meet me and find out what kind of films I wrote. And they said, "Listen, we don't have enough comedians auditioning. Do you want to audition?"
Nice.
Um, and I just thought it'd be a little hobby. I just thought it'd be something I do at nights. Well, it's been 20 years. And the great irony is I'm back after 20 years, after all these years, back to do the comedy store in London this weekend. It's
Oh,
mad.
who's on the bill?
I haven't checked, but it's usually always somebody very good.
No, always. Like
Yeah.
I love it when Lou Conran's there.
Yeah. Looks good. So many great people around. Yeah.
100%. Was that? I'm speaking with Lou in a couple of weeks. Like Alistair Barry, he was like brilliant.
I've worked with Alistair both in India and here, and
Yeah.
in other parts of the world as well. He was so when the comedy store opened, they used to send English comedians down. Initially, it was a lot of English comedians.
Hmm.
So Alistair was one of the first.
Okay.
Ian Stone, Alistair Barry, we got Mark Mayer. We got to hang out quite a lot in those early years.
I mean, how would you say, look, like the comedy scene has changed? From when you started to nowadays.
Oh, he's got superstars now, mostly because of the internet.
Yes.
Um, there are Indian comedians who are now selling out Royal Albert Hall, Madison Square Garden. There are massive, massive stars now.
And the one I got told, I can't remember his name. I wrote it down. And like some Indian comedians, they'll go up and do like 2.5 hour, 3 hour specials.
Yeah. Some of them can
That's
do that.
mad.
Yeah,
That is a
yeah.
ridiculous amount of time. Like to have that much like material, just be good. Like honestly, anyone can talk for 3 hours,
Some
but to
of
be
it is
good for
like,
three
I think
hours.
some comedians do storytelling, they do poetry, they do stand up. But yeah, some of them have long, long specials. Um, I'd say the Soho Theatre of London has been quite instrumental in getting Indian comedians over. They've been a big help. They've also taken comedians down to India. So it's
Hmm.
been quite an interesting collaboration. They've they've got a number of Indian comedians who come down and play Walthamstow,
Yep.
the new venue. So yeah, apart from the Comedy Store, they've also, I mean, they brought down a comedian, a young comedian, and she ended up winning the best newcomer at the Edinburgh Fringe
Okay. Cool.
last year, year before last.
And well, they are great to sort of like make names. With sort of like gigging in like here India and America. Do you find like some of your material works better in other countries?
Well, I almost have I almost need three separate hours. I need a UK hour. I need a US hour. I just, after many years, did New York, and I realized I didn't have a New York hour. So I had to, because I had all this stuff about Britain and India, which wouldn't be entirely relevant to them.
Hmm.
So I had to sort of cobble together an America hour.
Well, they should have colonized more, shouldn't they? Well, they're making up for it now, aren't they?
Exactly.
They're
Exactly.
doing it
I
now,
mean,
but
if Britain had never left India, I'd have loads of material.
hmm. I mean, yeah, I absolutely love that. So if you started comedy now, like you've never done a gig before, you started off today fresh. How would you have done things differently?
Well, I don't think I'd have, uh, uh, when we were coming up, there was a sort of human route to success, by which I mean you had to impress people in the clubs who would then book you for festivals, and then you climbed up through that route. I don't think kids need any of that now. I think they just need a camera, they need an audience, and they need the clip to go viral. And then they just need any sort of auditorium which they can sell tickets to. So I don't think putting in the years in all the clubs, because I started coming to the UK because I began in club comedy.
Okay,
But
cool.
I always thought the way to get better or climb was to do, have relationships with all the clubs in the UK.
Mm,
And then I ended up playing the Glees, the Stands, and the wonderful, wonderful places, and all sorts of club gigs across up and down the country. And I'd go to in like really obscure parts of Wales and do a show, or I'd go down to Plymouth, or
mm.
Bognor Regis, or whatever, name it. I don't think people starting out now need all that. They just need YouTube and Instagram, really, and TikTok.
Well, that's what I say. Like, how much of being a comedian nowadays is, you know, being funny? Because like people can do sketches online now. They can record them 30 times until they
Yeah.
really hit the nail on the head. But to do it on stand up, you only get one chance every night,
Yes.
and you can win or lose them in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I think it's almost a different profession now. And also like all the sketch stuff that the BBC used to do, like the Fast Show, all the great Armstrong and Miller, all those great sketch shows basically.
Mm.
Even Monty Python, like all that great stuff would today just be on TikTok.
Yeah,
Like it wouldn't be on TV.
but is TV dying?
What do you think?
I think it does. I
Yeah,
um because before it say I can't remember who was saying, but they were doing it in like the as the rendition in the music industry. Like before, you'd have to go out, you'd hit the clubs, you'd get to a certain level, you get yourself an agent, and then they would do it for you. Where with online, you can do it all yourself. I mean,
exactly.
like without like sucking myself off. I am a small in regards to TV. I'm a very small platform. I'm monetized myself, and I keep the whole pie.
Yeah. Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
better for me just to do it all online, to not go do a social, to not go to TV, and it's well enough. It's easy. It's better for me to do this type of comedy podcasting to become recognised than it is to go do 4 shows a week.
I completely agree. And also, YouTube will let you monetize, right? If you put up your clips, you put up 1 minute clips on Instagram, you put up 5 minute clips on YouTube.
Mm.
You essentially need to do one good show,
Yeah.
right? And have an hour's material, and then you don't have to pound the pavement.
Mm.
Which is why the relationships, I think, with clubs and comedians is changing.
Mm. And also, to even get to the level to do good stand-up clips on stage, you need to get yourself to that certain level now to have it, professionally recorded. To
Yes,
not be a camera stand in the back with dodgy audio,
yes,
things like that. So to even get to that barrier now, you need to have almost the presence. I mean, speaking with Alistair Barry, he said like the Fringe. Well, the Fringe is amazing. It's mecca for comedians. Agents don't go up there anymore because they can just watch everything online.
yeah. And even if they do, if they've seen a comedian, they've got so little time, right? So they're going to
Mm.
go see new people at the
Yeah.
Fringe. So, I mean, if you're a comedian who's been at it for many years doing something different, it's very hard to get an agent because they broadly know your shtick.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I think the Fringe is fantastic to tell the world you're still at it.
Mm.
And everybody goes up there. It's a fantastic couple of weeks or the whole month or whatever you want to do. Um, just to hone the craft, get the show good. But I don't think it's life transformative anymore, except maybe for a handful of people.
Yeah, I don't think it gets you from nowhere to somewhere. I think it can get you from somewhere to known.
Exactly. I've never been to the Fringe where I haven't come out with something, you
Mm.
know? either an audition for something or a run at another theater or a TV commercial or something has come out of the Fringe.
Mm,
I've never done a Fringe where it's been completely wasted.
mm.
Because people go up there, something will come out of it. But I think if you think, oh, this is going to change my whole life, and I'm just going to live off this for the rest of my life, that probably doesn't happen.
I mean, I think it's very hard for comedians nowadays, or especially like breaking through ones, to even try and attempt to make a living off comedy now. Because one, I think comedy is very saturated in comparison to what it was 15, 20 years ago. There's a lot more comedians. So, but with people also becoming, more known online, the the pay hasn't changed since the 90s.
Yeah, and there are only so many venues, right, and clubs, and the number of comedians will always keep going up. So supply and demand will always out outdo you, you know.
Mm,
So, um, like even established comedians do so many things. They write, they do sitcoms, they do travel shows.
mm,
In this country, most comedians are polymaths, you know, they're good at quiz,
mm.
they're good at so many different things.
How did you get into the writing side? Because um, from my beliefs, I think not everyone's a comedian, not everyone's an on-stage comedian, but everyone should start off doing stand-up. But then like they can, for what, I'm not the best person on the stage, but I'm a fantastic writer. So how did you get into the writing side of it?
Exactly. And from comedy, so many people splinter, right? They become script writers, they become directors, they become actors.
Mm.
Um, I was always interested in writing because I was very influenced by British sitcoms. So I was very influenced and interested in writing that kind of, you know, quirky sitcoms where characters are delusional. Like things like The Office were a massive
Oh,
influence.
I stand by. I say The Office UK version is one of the greatest bits of artwork of our time. Like the
I mean
mockumentary was
those
genius.
sorts of shows were hugely influential, as was things like Spinal Tap and those kinds of mockumentaries as well. So, or even, you know, The Thick of It, or, you know, like there's so many British comedies that inspired me to write those sorts of things about my culture. Um, and the stand-up just was the one that I wasn't expecting because, you know, the idea of standing up and saying, you know, these are things from my life. It's always a bit uncomfortable, you know. That's why I love writing stand up. That's not about me. That's about
Mm,
the world. That's about so many things. Not personal. And I'm in awe of comedians who can write only personal stuff and make it really funny, which is what a lot of modern comedy is about.
mm. Um, yeah, completely. Also, like a lot of people go on, they do like, you know, all about themselves. I feel like they have to just self-deprecate
Yeah,
to be
and they're
funny,
very
which
good at it.
I don't I'm guilty of that also. Do you know, I run to a fat joke. Well, I
But
don't run to it. Do you know, I wouldn't, but
audiences, critics, everybody love the honesty of that, right? The vulnerability. Like
mm,
comedians like me that are writing about history and politics are hiding from something, right? They're hiding from kind of not revealing much about themselves, which has downsides. But when you're doing a sitcom or when you're writing,
mm,
you know, you can hide as much as you want. You can create whatever character you want to make them say whatever you want. So that is sort of a bit of a safe haven.
okay, yeah. So yeah, sort of like your yeah. No, I like that.
And what happens, Daniel, is when you are being untruthful about yourself, like even when you're trying to make up embarrassing stories,
Mm,
audiences can see through the anything fake, you know? Audiences are actually after the truth, you know, like they really want something true and relatable.
mm,
And when you're telling personal stories and they're not relatable at all, because you're saying them because you think they're funny, audiences can see through that.
mm. Yeah, I mean, God, that just made me think a little bit because I do a bit about being a twin, and like it was obvious I was like the least favorite, like being the afterthought on a birthday song, and like all like crap like that. But none of it is true.
Yeah. But if you make it relatable, I think people understand that. Like you seem like somebody for whom that would be true. That's all they're after.
You don't even know my twin, but you already know I'm the lesser favourite one.
Yeah, yeah. So you're like, okay, I believe it. It seems like he'd have a twin. Like it's as long as I'm sitting in the audience and kind of believe the world you're making up. That's all. That's all people are after, really.
To be fair, my twin is 6'4", blonde, skinny, and a doctor. So,
Amazing,
it,
amazing.
it writes itself sometimes. Um, one thing I sort of like to go on, like the writing side of it. Obviously you rather sitcoms and stuff. Would you ever use writers for your own stand-up?
Never.
Good.
I
I'm glad. I'm glad that was the answer because I feel. Yeah. Tell me why. I 100% love that answer.
It's no fun in that. I mean, I might as well go back to a day job. There's somebody the other day, people keep asking comedians a lot, do you write your own material? And the whole joy is to sit down, write something,
Mm,
go say it in front of a couple of hundred people and have them laugh. Like, that's the whole point of this job. I mean, if somebody else is doing the fun magic part of this job, then what am I? I'm just saying it, that I'm just an actor.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, completely. Agree. Would I challenge that for panel shows as well?
Well, panel shows, yeah, I mean, they expect you to do your own writing. Like all the people I love on panel shows, like say Hugh Dennis, who I think is brilliant on panel
Mm,
shows. He's always outstanding, right? Or Milton Jones or people like that.
yeah.
The whole point is their perspective. The whole point is their worldview
Mm,
of something. Um, that's what I find amusing. And you can't have anybody write that. I mean, you can have people write like a Radio 4 comedy show. I can see a group of people writing a topical Radio 4 comedy show,
mm,
like News Quiz. I can see a group of people writing that. Although something like News Quiz, my friend Andy Zoltzman does most of the writing on his own.
mm,
I mean, that's incredible how much writing he does. Because again, it's his worldview, it's his perspective, and that's what people like, I think, in
mm,
comedy, is what is your perspective on this.
mm.
So I think that would be the gold bit of it that you wouldn't want to outsource.
Mm. Okay. With sort of like doing the writing side, not your own personal stand up, but writing in general. Have there any sort of been like any hills you've died on where you'd be like, no, this has to be in it. This is brilliant, and I will challenge any other writer who says, maybe not.
Oh, every day there's a joke where you think to yourself, how far can I, why is this not working? Like last night, I did a thing about, I don't often talk about politics, but I was like, people always say do a Rishi Sunak joke because he's from the, hello?
I'm here, man. I'm here.
Yeah.
Oh,
People
dude,
always
you've
always
got me
say,
full focus, man. Like, I looked up
yeah.
pros. You got me fully engaged.
With Zoom sometimes it's just yeah. So people always say, do a Rishi soon, and I say, why do I need to do a Rishi? This doesn't happen anymore. It used to happen a couple of years ago. And people say, well, Rishi Sunak is from the Indian community. You're from the Indian community. Why don't you think of something clever? And I always said, well, he's not from the Indian community. We're different in that I'm from the Indian ethnic minority and he's from the hedge fund ethnic minority, right? And then there's a little extension to that because people always laugh at that. There's a little extension which I love, which I can never get to work, which is and I say that the reason we're different is because the caste system works very differently in the two communities. In his community, you're lower caste if you make less than £5 million a year. And I just always thought that's a very clever joke about the caste system and hedge funds. And I can never quite get that to work. And I don't know why. So I keep tinkering with it
I'm
every
trying.
show.
I like. I don't know. He's got like. I'm just spitballing here, and this isn't like funny, but I'm trying. There's like 1.2 billion people in India, which is ironic because that's his current net worth. I don't know.
Yeah, 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 exactly, exactly. So if
Uh,
there's a way to connect somehow,
mm,
um, the fact that in hedge funds you're considered lower caste because you make less money
mm,
is something I just can't get to work. Like it's just either it needs more knowledge of hedge funds or the caste system. There's clearly something I'm not able to do there. So much of comedy is knowledge as well.
mm. But do you always feel like sometimes, like, will you just like? I'm not even asked your sort of writing process yet. Would you sort of like just put a pin in it, and then it will sort of just, like come to you at like the most like say 3 o'clock in the morning.
Can happen. Can happen. In which case I write it down in my phone or something. It can happen. Yeah, it can come to you anytime. Or most of the time it's problem solving. It's me not spending enough time with it, you know?
Okay. That,
Oftentimes when what we do is when it's 75% there, we just say it.
mm,
But we don't spend, but the problem solving is really spending time with the joke, like sitting down and saying, why is it not working? You know, like it's never the audience. It's
mm,
us not asking ourselves the questions.
mm. Okay. And how many times would you sort of like try a new concept before you try and revisit it or bin it all together?
Every show I've ever done,
Mm.
I try to put in one new thing and try to throw out one old thing just to
Oh,
keep the show fresh.
whose rule is that? Is it Seinfeld? You like every year he gets rid of his bottom 15%.
Yeah. Yeah. So he gets rid of 15% of. Now the thing is, it could be that the 15% of his worst jokes are not working for some other reason. You know,
Mm,
like you could always tinker it and improve it if the central idea is good enough. But to keep it fresh for me, to keep every show fresh, whether it's 20 minutes or an hour,
mm,
so it's not just repeating everything, I need to write one new thing and play with it.
okay.
Um, like, for example, I just finished some shows in the US and I flew in. And you know, if you're a foreigner coming into the UK, the very first thing you see is a sign that says follow the direction of travel. And there's an escalator and it says follow the direct, please follow, face the direction of travel is the very first thing you see.
Gonna
And I
moonwalk
think
it.
to and I think to myself, what do they think people from other parts of the world are doing? Like, are none of these foreigners, are they all facing away from the direction of
That's just
travel?
moonwalking it on the escalator thing all
Yeah,
the way
yeah.
down.
Which countries are doing this? You know, like I haven't tried this, you know, but like every day I'll see a thing and I'll be like, maybe it's ridiculous, but I'll put it in and see
Mm.
if it works. Just to keep it fresh for me.
Okay, so what? So you start off almost with a concept, and then you try and find the funny within it.
Always. And I never know where the laugh is gonna be.
Okay.
You know, like when you're script writing, when you write for characters, you kind of know the funny situation, but you never know where the big laugh will be.
Mm.
It's the same thing with stand-up. You just don't know where the laugh is gonna be.
Okay.
Um, it's
Well,
only when a show gets set, you know, when you see the laughs, that's when it gets a bit boring because you're like, oh, this is where the laugh is.
mm.
And then your mind works differently. Like, oh, I didn't get the laugh where I usually get the laugh. I got the laugh at a different place. What's going on? Then you get into the mechanics of it, which is a bit boring. Um, but when you're writing it, you just never know where the laugh is, which is always good fun.
Oh, so when you sort of like write a character comedian, will you like write out their sort of like full bio before you start inserting the funny?
I start slightly differently. I start with situations.
Okay, cool.
And I write the situation that I think is funny, and usually an uncomfortable, awkward situation. And then I look for the funny in that, you know? And usually
Okay,
sometimes
cool.
it involves me in that situation. But it's always something that has discomfort in it.
So would you say all your characters have a slight element of your persona within them?
Oh, all the time. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cool.
And like, you know, there's a story about me trying to learn because, you know, you guys are a very polite society, right? Very, very, everyone's always apologizing for everything. And
Mm,
And my conundrum, I tell a story, which is like a scene really, about me trying to put my case into a luggage rack on a long distance train
mm,
and accidentally pushing aside an old lady's case to put my case in. And then my little chit chat with her about how I felt that was impolite and you know, her saying that no, 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 my case is bothering you. Let me remove my case, and then me raising the stakes by saying, "Oh no, you don't have to remove your case. I was just getting off this train when I wasn't. I just wanted to be polite." You know, so it's just it's how uncomfortable can I make politeness? You know, it's like that.
I'll refund your ticket. How far down the
Yeah,
rabbit
yeah,
hole do you go?
yeah. Exactly, exactly.
oh, oh,
I mean, how far high can you go with that? Yeah.
I love that. It's okay. Obviously, I've never asked how long have you been going for?
This will be my 16th or 17th year, I think.
Uh,
It's a long
uh,
time.
Amazing. What is there any sort of joke in particular that has a soft spot in your heart? That is, it's your baby.
I try really hard for the sort of one line joke,
Mm.
like the Gary Delaney sort of,
Yeah,
uh, not as clever as him, but that joke that I can kind of slide in anywhere in the middle of a show when it's not going well. And I struggle with that because all my jokes tend to be stories, I very rarely, I think the only one I have that I slide in different places was, I wish I could stay longer, but I have one more day in London and I have to go to the British Museum to pick up some of my granddad's things.
brilliant. Yeah,
So
cool.
that's the only one. I ended the special with it at some point. But I've got a few like that, and I love throwaway lines, like a premise and a single line that gets a big laugh.
Yes.
And I don't have too many of those, and I'm always looking for them.
And do you find that also that will create a sort of a barrier with social media because one-liner comedians or crowd work comedians tend to do very well online because they are 20, 30-second clips. It feeds the dopamine and they move on. Where like other storyteller also, for to you to like, do you know what I mean, edit something down, it's still going to be 2, 3 minutes.
Yeah, I think it is the age where people want that one line. It's um like if I was like a Jimmy Carr can just have an endless set of those, right?
Yeah.
Or Gary Delaney can have an endless set of. I think having a few of those is always good, but you never know which ones will be the one-liners
Mm.
because it comes out of distilling. In my very first Edinburgh, I think the line about the British Museum was used to be something very different. It was a long line, and I accidentally found it, and then slowly distilled into a one-liner.
Okay.
But I've never tried the one-line joke.
Mm.
Maybe I should. Maybe I should write more.
I mean, my this is purely my own opinion. I One-liner comedians are my guilty pleasure.
Yeah, I love them.
But I love a storyteller. I love someone who can sit there, tell a story, and they can pause for 5 seconds, silence, and the whole room is hanging on that every word. They are truly holding court. So whilst I love one-liners, they are my guilty pleasure. Storytellers are my penultimate, are my
Yeah,
favorite
I
comedians.
mean, Daniel Kitson can go 4, 5, 6 minutes without a laugh line.
Mm.
He's like, it's great theater. He's just telling you a great story. You're just
Well,
hanging on to the story.
how much of that would you say? Because I've been watching a lot of Dave Chappelle lately, and he when he's on stage now, he probably only does about 3 or 4 jokes in a 15-minute set, but it's more holding court. So how much would you say like being on stage now is how many laughs you can get, or is it how much you can entertain them?
I think when you reach his level, he's just talking now.
Yeah.
Some of it is funny, some of it is not. I don't think it's crafted or anything. I think he's just talking now.
Mm.
Um, I think if you've got that much money, whereas I think Chris Rock or people like that, they still craft their jokes. I think Chappelle used to. I think now it's just him saying things.
It's like a TED talk now, but
Yeah.
with class and elegance. Like he's.
Yes, he's still articulate, he's still well spoken, but it's just him talking now.
Mm. I mean, how I mean, this is probably gonna sound really bloody naive from my side. How is the comedy scene in India?
No, not naive at all. It's a really good question. I mean, it's massive now. I mean, there's so many languages. You got to look at India like almost like Europe, like it's a continent, right? So,
Mm.
you people are doing it in like 20, 30 different languages for different parts of India. There are huge YouTube celebrities. It's very different than saying, "Oh, this is Belgian comedy," where there's a bunch of guys doing it in Belgian.
Mm.
Because in India, you got people doing it in regional languages, in English, for posh audiences, for rural audiences. They're doing sketch comedy. It's just massive. I'm just happy that everyone has their little niche, you know? That's what's good.
How would people like sort of like, let's say, okay, I'm going to use myself as an example. Okay, do you know what I mean? How would I get myself to India to do comedy? Like, what is the process? Do you need to get the agent who then finds you? Do you need to be scouted?
Um, do you mean an Indian comedian or an international
An
comedian?
international comedian. How do they then get into that sort of
I
level
mean, you know,
nowadays?
there are people who are just popular online who just, you know, I often ask comedy producers who they'd bring down, and the names are quite interesting. Daniel Schloss has done 4 tours of India. They love him there.
Mm.
Jimmy Carr recently did a massive sold out tour of India. So many have. I know if Omid Jalili came down, he'd be quite a hit. Ahir Shah did a bunch of successful shows. I'm sure Sindhu would be great in India. Um, Al Murray would do very well in
Mm.
certain parts of India. Um, Edisode has already come and done India a number of times.
Mm.
So there's always somebody coming through. Maximini did a massive show recently. Um, who did we have? We've got loads of people coming down. Kevin Hart, I think, was down in India.
Oh
I
yeah,
feel
he's
like
in.
it's
But what sort of like the open mic level be like down there?
I so it's quite vibrant. There are lots of clubs that do open mics.
Mm.
It's pretty much become like everywhere else in the world.
Okay,
So a lot of open mics are attended only by comedians, that kind of thing.
standard, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So it's become quite established now.
mm. And what would say the because I would say once again I'm pulling this stat out of thin air. Anyone in the comments, please challenge me. I would probably say in this country the male to female ratio is 1 in 6. Is it?
I'd say same. I'd say
Yeah,
same for India. Yeah.
same in India. Like, which is quite a universal stat.
Some very, very funny women.
1,000,000%.
Some of them have gone on to do very, very well. But I'd say, yeah, 1 in 6.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also sort of doing like sort of like the circuit level, like crowd level. There's so many brilliant up and coming female comedians, and some of them are just some dirty birds who go as dark can go, and I love it. I absolutely love it because it's a new angle. Like when I was sort of growing up watching comedy, there was a couple of women on the show on the screens, but it was predominantly male dominated, and it
Yes.
is nice to see that even on like the open mic level, there's some absolute brilliant like women coming along.
When
And
I do clubs now, there's usually at least one or, it's a mixed bill, gender wise,
but
which
you
is great.
you say mixed build is still 1 in 6, but then is that's a quality of applicants, not a quality of outcome, which we all need to stand by.
That and maybe exactly, and maybe the bookers are more enlightened now, like they try not to have like 4 men on a bill, just for perspective. You want stories to be different.
Oh, 100%. Like I gig in Essex quite a lot, and like the 10 guys on the bill all talking about the same thing. You get bored. Like you want the alternative perspective, but funny needs to be funny. That still is sort of like the main game, to be honest. Okay, one I love asking. Obviously been doing it a while. What's the worst thing you've seen someone do on stage? You don't have to give names or locations.
I saw a comedian take off his pants once. I saw an English comedian in the early days of in the early days of comedy on tour take his pants off in front of an Indian audience, which was quite confusing for the Indian audience. Again, it wasn't rude or it didn't lead to any sort of the show being shut down or whatever. He was suddenly trying to make a point and he stuck his bum out. And I wish I had a camera because the audience's faces were fantastic. It's the early days of stand-up. Indians didn't quite know how to deal with it. It was
Yeah,
brilliant.
English comedy shit.
Yeah. I don't think that he was part of his set, so it made sense because he's telling a story about something he showed a doctor. So it made sense And then he said, "Well, I want you to see it, and do you think if this is,
I
XYZ?"
mean, did he at least do like crowd work? Like, because like there is the stereotype that Indians are doctors usually. Like,
Yeah,
did he even
so
play on that a little bit?
I think he built up to it. It's part of a story. He
Okay.
wasn't doing it out of context,
Mm.
but it did involve him dropping his pants and his underwear, which was a bit much
Yeah.
in the funniest way possible. Because what was really funny was just the reaction of the people.
Mm.
Because there was complete silence, and then you just had one guy going,
Yeah. That would have made me laugh the cough more than the whole bit. Like some audience interaction is just phenomenal.
"It's
And then
brilliant." And I think there was a cough, and then some more really uncomfortable silence, and then one person going, so which just makes it brilliant.
uh, has the comedy world changed pre and post COVID?
Absolutely. I think the entire digital transformation. I've seen this in India before I saw it in the UK.
Mm.
UK still had a club circuit, and I kind of saw it going in that direction because India didn't have clubs. After the Comedy Store left,
Yeah.
a lot of comedians were out in the wild, so they took to YouTube, right? And they took to digital.
Did you do any online stuff?
Did I?
Yeah.
Yes, I mean all of us. I put out clips on YouTube, um, but a lot of my colleagues just had a dedicated digital strategy,
Yeah.
whether through Instagram, through YouTube, and then built a massive following. And then they didn't need any comedy infrastructure because they were famous. They just needed any hall where they could just sell tickets.
Mm.
And I saw that happening in India first, while UK was still a little bit behind digitally because here you still had a whole circuit of comedians and decision makers and live at the Apollo, and there's a whole system here. Um, and slowly I saw the UK, because post pandemic, like everywhere else in the world, go in that direction
Mm.
of, comedy being entirely a digital phenomenon, which is how it is now. I mean, you could release something on TV. I mean, the clip of mine from Empire that went viral and had some
The,
six,
the
7 million.
250-year one, I think.
Yes, that
Yes,
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So the one that we did for BBC World Service was essentially for radio, and it was never for TV. And the video clip of that, basically went viral because someone ripped it off YouTube, and it circulated mostly on telephones.
okay.
So, as in, it circulated on WhatsApp. When I say
Yeah, so yeah,
telephone, I
cool. Yeah,
mean,
so if I say telephones, I'm all like,
sorry, I meant like it's mostly it lived on WhatsApp. And that's kind of how comedians get famous now, is just the clip goes viral on WhatsApp. People
yeah.
just pass it around.
I mean, what was sort of like your reaction of when it blew up?
You know it quite instantly because just the number of messages that you start getting explodes.
Mm.
Friends of friends write to you saying, "Hey, somebody sent me this. Hey, somebody sent me this." I mean, you are very much aware that it's blown up.
Mm.
It's um
But like, I'll be honest. I thought that bit was funny, but I thought your American bit was better.
yeah,
It's
I mean,
weird how that bit, obviously, it's been well received, but it's weird how some things blow up and some don't. Like, is it just luck of the draw almost?
there are clips I put out, or even bits of writing I put out that I thought, oh, this is outstanding.
Mm.
Nothing. And then I've got social media wrong every time
Oh,
about.
100%. Well, I want to I'm doing an episode. I'm starting doing some group episodes where like I've got one tonight of getting four guys. We're talking about men's mental health in comedy, and I'll get four trans, four gay, four Muslim. Do that. I'm trying to get four social media experts because I need that in my life. I need to know: is there a formula? How does the algorithm work? And
Well, and now there are experts. There are whole social media companies that do that for you. There's
mm,
a whole system in place that does that. People understand the algorithm, they know how to feed YouTube.
mm,
People that do my social media know when to post, when not to post,
mm.
what gets a lot of traction, what hashtags. There's a whole science to it, which has nothing to do with the art of comedy.
But
Nothing.
it annoys me because it's something that seems so obvious, but it's something I just can't do, and I get
Yeah.
annoyed at that. Like I should be
Same.
able to figure this out. Do you know what I mean? I've got a degree in accounting finance. I've run 3 businesses successfully. Why can I not figure this out?
Same, same. I've never been able to figure it out. Like I can see why somebody will watch a TV show and why it becomes popular. I can see the logic of that.
Mm.
I have not, in my 20 years of comedy, been able to figure out which clip people like and why did. And it's usually the ones that are quite banal that go viral. Like
Yeah. Oh, like I don't know. You see the ones where it's like there's like a video and there's another video underneath it of like just like a ball of cheese or something. But is that because we're watching something and while listening to it, so we're watching it for that extra 7 seconds, or there's that sad music in the background, and there's just yeah, I just can't.
I mean, so much has evolved now. I mean, you have people who do clips of a life incident or like something that happened on the streets, and then you have commentary on it. So you have a guy like me in half the screen
Yeah, like
commenting.
reaction videos.
Yeah,
That
exactly,
seems
exactly.
hacked to me though, because that's not new. That's not. But I see they're getting so many views, but it's like it's not original. So there should be a different, I don't know, a different monetization method because it's not new and organic. It's them just copying someone else, but then having a 5 second input at the end of it, so then it's now original again.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the age where everybody can technically be a comedian, right? Like
Mm,
everybody, anyone access to a phone has the ability to put material out. It's no problem.
mm.
And that person is competing against a veteran 30-year comedian.
Yeah, 100. But then I do. Do they? Do they eventually get exposed on stage?
I think so. I think a lot of bookers will tell you, live act bookers will tell you, the material dries up after 5 minutes.
Mm.
Some do, some have excellent material,
Oh yeah,
but
cool. Yeah, well, yeah. Some are
but
good.
then
Some
after 7 minutes of crowd work and a couple of observations, they've got nothing. And then how do you fill the rest of the hour? So
yeah.
I
And
think
if they're
there's
that famous, do they need to be on the stage anyways? It's probably just a bucket list for them. You know what? I've done it. I've done my tour.
but also the monetization is really in live, right? So they sell tickets because they want to do those stadiums because
Yeah,
the ultimately the YouTube algorithm will not going to pay them as much.
yeah. Oh yeah, well, yeah. I don't think. I think TikTok's the worst one. I think it's like you get like $200 or something for 2 million views. Like,
So you have to
mm,
sell tickets or figure out some way to make money.
mm. Yeah, 100%. But I think it's the gateway to do it. Kind of. I'll end it with this one. Um, okay. Someone's never. I always end it with the same question. It's the most sincere one I love. Someone's never done comedy before. They're looking to get into stand up. They come to you and say, "Look, can you give me some advice, please?" What advice would you give them? You can't say just do it.
Daniel, I teach some comedy classes once in a while for kids.
Okay,
And
cool.
because I do a kids comedy workshop every year in India.
Mm.
And I love doing it because they have no filter,
Yes.
and because of that, often parents and adults will come to me and say, "Can you do an adults kids workshop, adults comedy workshop?" And my thing is, more than being funny, the hardest thing is you got to know who you are. Like, what's your story? What's the story you want to tell? Why do you want to tell the story? Right? Kids always have a story to tell because something's always bothering them. Usually their parents or the school teacher or their nanny or something's always driving them up the wall, right? Which is why it's so funny because they have no filter on how to address that. So they just say it like it is. Um, More than being funny, the question I'd ask the individual is what's bothering you? And then figure out if that is unique enough for them to want to tell that story. Like if you have a unique enough gripe, and if it's a unique enough perspective, and knowing who you are is very important, because I don't think you can have the same material. You can put five South Asian comedians next to each other,
Mm,
right? And their material will be completely different. Like my concerns and what I'm interested in is so different from Nish Kumar's concerns
mm.
or Ahir Shah's concerns or Ishan Akbar's concerns
Or
or Shadi
Sunak
Amritsar's concerns
family.
or Rishi Sunak's concerns, right? Like our worlds are so different. Uh, but what makes it interesting? So as a comedian, the fear that someone will steal my joke, I hear this a lot. Someone stole my joke, someone took my material. It's not really relevant because what's interesting is your unique perspective. Who are you? So the rather than ask the person, why do you think you're funny? I'd ask, who are you, and is that perspective unique? And then what story do you have from that perspective? And it'll be funny, like for example, um, you owned a pub, right, for a long
Yep.
time. And I bet some of those stories are incredibly funny.
Oh, amazing! Like amazing. Like some of the stories you hear, everyday people, and the banter between
Now,
everyone.
when can I go to a comedy club and listen to a guy that owned a pub that has all these stories?
Mm.
Like my parents for years owned a small hotel. And, you know, I was like, I used to see things that used to go about the hotel. And I was like, if I never do take comedy classes or whatever, and I just sit at this hotel and observe the goings on, and all I did was just tell people the stories of this hotel.
Mm.
That is enough comedy material, So who I am and how I live my life is what's determining the material. Because there's nobody out there saying, I owned a pub and this happened on Tuesday, right? Like you can be on a bill with five other people. No one else will have that story.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think I do need to write more about my personal ones. The one I've never wrote about, and the one I love the most, and I'll end it on that one. When I lived in Brighton for 4 years, 3 years doing my uni, year after, and I lived on a road, Waterloo Street, that was like the road that split Brighton and Hove, and I lived above a sandwich shop, but next door to us was a brothel. And like we had a balcony that we used to smoke weed, drink whiskey after every day at work. Me and my best mate would go there and we'd just watch the world go by for 4 hours, just sitting by a balcony. It was a railing we leant over, and I remember at 3 o'clock in the morning we woke up to like this noise, this complaining, this yelling. So we looked down to the left, and there's a guy in a wheelchair having a go at the prostitutes because it wasn't wheelchair accessible. So
Amazing.
four prostitutes had to come out in their like frocks, the nightingales, and lift him into the brothel.
Amazing.
And
My
I've never
my
wrote about
agents
that.
my agents live in Brighton, and I'm usually here every few months, right? So I miss out chunks of time in the UK
Yeah.
because I'm doing other work in India. And once in a while my agents will just send me videos of some nutter outside the window of the office.
Mm.
Um, their office is in Brighton, and there's usually one crazy person doing
Oh,
something absolutely batshit
my office was in
crazy.
the lanes. So yeah, first hand
Amazing.
experience on that.
The last one they sent me was this crazy person who just got into someone's car. There's some guy parking. Just got into his car and started talking to him. And did you just send me these videos saying, Anuvab, if you're missing Brighton, and then just send me this video. And it just made my day. It's brilliant.
Oh, Ryan's lovely. I mean, yeah, that was brilliant. I mean, dude, thank you ever so much for coming on, man. I've thoroughly
My
enjoyed this.
pleasure. Thank you.
Um,
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for having me.
my
And please
pleasure.
say
And
hello to Al, and please say hello to the other great people you're getting.
I will. I've got to watch the last 5 minutes of your special.
I hope you like it.
Dude, honestly, it's such a well written special, man. I recommend everyone listening. You've got to go out and watch it. It was absolutely brilliant, man. Like phenomenal. And hats off. And have you got another special in mind?
I'm writing it right now for next year's Edinburgh.
Nice.
I'm in the middle of it, sort of developing it right now. But luckily, the one you're talking about is on YouTube, so anyone can watch it.
Okay, if you're up Fringe next year, I'm up there next year. So
Yeah, we'll see each other. I'm
we'll see each
100%
other,
up there
dude.
next year. Yeah.
Love that, man. All right, guys, thank you ever so much for watching. Really appreciate it. And cheers, man. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.